Today on the Diz List, we count down the top 5 rides in 2025 at Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, a podcast that lists everything at Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to the Diz List. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics. We are going to do the top 5 rides in 2025 at Walt Disney World.
I have a question for you, Rob.
What?
Did you redo something with the theme song?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. It sounded different.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
It sounded like a little bit of reverb.
Oh.
That's
no.
okay.
Really?
Yeah. It's okay.
Maybe
I thought you were trying to sneak one by me.
Maybe I hit it twice, and then it played
Just
and
like
then
a
a fraction
microsecond. Yeah.
after.
Maybe. I don't know.
Weird. We'll have to go back in and look. Folks, if it sounded different, this time I actually did not redo the intro. But I have time this week.
Yeah. It's been a slow news week at Disney.
Yeah. But not for us.
Not for us.
No.
Right there, that box.
Yeah.
It's empty right now because right there behind Rob, we have some new shoes. So Bull Airs, thank you so much for sending out these Goldberg drops. Those of you who are original Mighty Ducks fans, you all know Goldberg. And Sean Weiss worked with Bull Airs in collaboration for a signature series drop. Some of the proceeds are going to his charity. But
I'm actually going to step backwards a little bit on this one, Nick, because
yeah.
There's probably a couple of people that are new, and they probably are thinking, what is Bull Airs? So Bull Airs is our friend Tom Bullman, friend of the show.
Yep. And
he was on the TV show Ink Master. He was one of the contestants on that show. So he started off as a tattoo artist, played in a lot of local bands, local hardcore bands in Western New York. So that's how I got to know him. And Nick became friends with him through the podcast and got a chance to meet him. You met him at one of the Into the Light shows, right?
Yeah.
He was there too.
Red.
And he was there. And now after he finished, so to rewind again, he stopped tattooing and during COVID started making these custom sneakers. So what he does is he creates these sneakers from different fandoms like Mighty Ducks and Wolverine and Deadpool and
all things pop culture.
Yep. Popeye's the new one that he did. And we love him and we love promoting his company because he's a good friend and we want him to do well, and he does such great quality work. So if you're watching us on YouTube, and if you're not, please go subscribe to us on YouTube. But if you're not watching it, go and check out our social media because we did a little video. You want to talk about what we did before we started?
Yeah, we did a live unboxing of the shoes. I had cheated. I saw mine. Because we live relatively close to where his shop is, we got the update at school. Rob comes in, hey, they just shipped. And I was like, awesome. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, it still said that the USPS was awaiting package. I was like, oh, darn. I was hoping I'd get them before break. And I forget that they're close. They're like, we could drive to his shop in an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. Probably less than that. And then I got the update on Thursday or the next day, the very next day from when I got the shipping notice that they were out for delivery. So they were like maybe in transit for 12 hours, and that was it.
And you got yours.
I got mine.
We had to sign for them.
Yep.
So luckily someone was home at your house and signed for you.
Yes.
No one was home at my house at the time, so I got a little slip that said, come pick them up at the post office. So I grabbed them yesterday at the post office.
Yeah, and Rob kept his sealed.
I did.
I'm amazed. Yeah. I couldn't. I was
Yeah.
like, forget this. I'm opening them.
Well, because I thought that would be more fun. My honest reaction in the unboxing video, and
yeah,
I hadn't seen them at all. And the other interesting thing too is, and this isn't usually the way it is on the Bull Airs website, is there wasn't an actual like 3-dimensional mock-up. It was like a drawing of what they're gonna look like.
Yeah.
So to me, I was very surprised to see what they looked like in person.
Yeah.
Because when we got the Steamboat Willie ones, here I'll grab those. When we got these Steamboat Willie ones, there was, there's a mock-up on the website, and I knew what they were going to look like when they showed up.
Yeah. I'm just excited to, have Tom as a friend of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited for these particular shoes because they they are going to help a charity too. But go check out bullairs.com for more of those. Today's list, I knew, so I pitched this list to Rob, knowing with a question mark, knowing that the answer was going to be yes. So Rob's favorite thing, and if Rob could do it every week, he would do it every week.
I would,
and he would repeat the same rides every week, sometimes in a different order.
Yeah, they move around a little bit. One doesn't, but the rest do.
And I know Rob well enough to know that he would say yes to doing a list about the top rides. However, it is worth revisiting yearly, or even possibly every half year.
Yeah.
Because at Disney, especially right now, there's so much change that's happening at the parks. You've got Big Thunder's down. Well, that changes my list.
They're redoing the whole track. That's actually a little bit of news.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw, there was a picture this week of them bringing track back, that they had already taken out. So that's kind of cool. But that changes my list. There are rides that are going down. Like, for instance, it's spoiler alert, Rock and Roller Coaster is not on my list, but for some people it is. And it's going down because they're switching it over to the Muppets. When it goes down, that changes the top 5 for that person.
Yeah.
Splash Mountain may have been on somebody's list. Well, now it's changed. There are always changes at Disney that kind of alter this list, and we change, right? Our wants change. I certainly have changed my favorite rides. Partially that's because I'm still a Disney youngster. We'll call myself, I'm a Disney tween, I would say. I would say. I've hit my tween years. After, I've only...
That's fair.
Because, you grew up with it.
Yeah.
It took me a little while to figure out exactly what my Disney style is. So this is going to be a fun one, because I know mine's changed.
Mine is, too. Mine has changed. One big surprise before I even begin. I'll get this out of the way now. I didn't even put Haunted Mansion on here.
What?
It's not even on.
Hold on.
It's not. It's
no
not.
way.
I wore my Haunted Mansion shirt too, but I didn't put it on the list. For me, I love that ride. It's probably my favorite, but I don't think it's the best of 2025.
I mean,
is that shocking to some people who are listening? Sure. But in my mind, there's a difference.
It's shocking to people sitting in the same room with you.
Well, there's a difference. Honestly, best for me is different than favorite, I think.
Okay.
And I think, it's great. They've spruced it up a lot. You'll see. I like other things, and I'll start with number 5 right now.
Yeah.
And my number 5 is right around the corner from Haunted Mansion, and that's Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And I love that ride, and I'm sure that's on your list too. I put it at number 5 because that ride has all of my favorite elements. It has a thrill element.
Yeah.
It has a drop. It has a great story. It has great animatronics, and it has great music. It's those are all my favorite elements for a good ride.
I would throw in a queue too, but yeah.
Yeah, you like the queue a little bit more than I do. The reason I am not as jazzed on the queue is because it's really hot when you're waiting in that area. There isn't as much cover over top.
I don't
love that part, but I do see your point where you get inside. There's all those cool little Easter eggs. That part of the queue is great. Yeah. So I both agree and disagree with that.
I can't argue with that.
And it's. You never know with a ride when they go in and retheme and redo it. And I just think, Splash Mountain was good. I get why they redid it. I think that it needed to be redone, but this was the best possible way they could have done it. I can't think of it being any better.
I mean, I love it. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right. And I know you're not saying much because it's probably going to show up on your list a little bit later too.
It might.
I'm betting. Well, you would have lost the bet guessing that Haunted Mansion was on mine.
Yeah, when you said one never moves, I was like, oh, here we go.
No.
Okay. But now I know
I don't think it's the best.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah, I don't think it's the favorite, yes.
I will be honest with you. My list reflects a similar thought process to yours.
Good.
Are these necessarily the order that my favorites are in? No. Is this the order of what I feel are the best rides in 2025 at Disney World? in the order that I feel they are the best? Yes. Mm-hmm. So, like, for instance, you're talking about how you said that there's no Haunted Mansion. For me, in fact, it's on the screen behind you. My favorite dark ride is Pirates.
Great.
And
is that your number 5?
No, and it's not on there.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Because, great example. Same
because
thing.
It's for the very same reason that Haunted Mansion's not on yours. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite. Is it the best? Is it in the top 5 rides at Disney right now? No. And so that's that. So I went a very similar route. I will shock you with what my number 5 is still, though, and that is Rise of the Resistance.
Okay. I can see why you would do that, actually.
So Rise of the Resistance, I do really like.
Yeah.
But I have not had the best of experience with its reliability. If it were 100% reliable, if it were even 90% reliable, I would probably have this way up higher. I don't think it would reach my number 1, but it would definitely be higher, possibly even all the way to number 2. Mm. I love Star Wars, and I feel like this ride, the idea of this ride is magnificent. Mm-hmm. I have only experienced the idea of this ride once. Because the rest of the time, what I have experienced is B mode, or not even B mode. Sometimes it's like you get there, you get in the little ride vehicle, and you sit there for 10 minutes. Well, and that's what happened this last year. Now, the ride itself went off without a hitch once we got going. Mm-hmm. But think about that pre-show and how that pre-show runs. And they're like, come on, we've got to escape. And you get in, and then all of a sudden, you're sitting there. And then the cast members are like trying to keep up this fake urgency while you're sitting there for 10 minutes. And, if I get it, right? It doesn't take me out of the enjoyment of the ride, but it's not how the ride was meant to be enjoyed.
I get it.
So for that reason, it can't be higher than 5, but it is a ride that is especially if 2025 is your first time in a while, or it's your last time for a while, it is definitely in the top 5 must-do rides.
For sure.
At Disney World.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What do you have at number 4?
It is not actually Rise of the Resistance. Maybe it'll show up later, maybe it won't. Number 4 is a brand new one for me. And I rode this for the first time, and it's the first time it's on my list, and that is TRON Lightcycle Run. Mm-hmm. I absolutely loved it. Before I got to it, I was very trepidatious because everyone was always saying, oh, it's really quick, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. I like the music. The movies are kind of cool. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. So I finally get on the ride, and it's just so great. It's so great. And I think I really lucked out because we got to ride it twice in one day. Because I'll explain why. We bought an individual lightning lane for it. Because I was worried that when it was in the virtual queue, people are like writing down notes and solving math problems on how the system works. So the virtual queue at the point when I was there, you could do the virtual queue for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, or you could do the virtual queue for TRON Lightcycle Run. Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know you are. So we decided to do the virtual queue for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and then we bought the individual lightning lane for TRON Lightcycle Run.
Okay.
Knowing we'd get to do both.
Yeah.
Luckily, the time after 1 o'clock came, and we could enter in that queue again because we had already ridden Tiana. Mm-hmm. So we said, let's try. It's 1 o'clock. Let's see if we can get into the virtual queue for TRON. And we did. So we had 2 rides for TRON Lightcycle Run in one day, and it was just fantastic. I love the ride. I love the music. Do I wish it was a little bit longer? Sure. It's definitely one of the most exciting rides. It's super fast. I know you have a couple issues with it, which maybe you'll talk about later. So I don't want to speak for you, but I will just say that it's a great addition to Magic Kingdom. I think it could fit some other places and in some other parks, but I think it's a good move because it's something that Tomorrowland needs right now. Because Tomorrowland has sort of shown its wear and tear, and it's starting to look a little dated, which is the most ironic thing to call a land that is called Tomorrowland.
I've said it multiple times.
Yeah.
It's yesterday land.
Yeah. It needed it, and it really helps now.
We even did it when we said, so on a Patreon, we talked about retheming all of Tomorrowland.
Mm-hmm.
And both of our ideas had kind of centered around the idea of putting that canopy over the whole place.
Yeah.
And
Because it's so cool.
it is very cool. I'm going to just jump in because my number 4 is Tron.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Perfect.
Tron, everything you said is true about Tron.
Mm-hmm.
I would say what holds it back for me is the length, and I feel like it's not as accessible as some other rides.
And you said it's uncomfortable.
I mean, so I have decently sized thighs and calves, and it's difficult for me to get in. So, and I'm not talking about like bigger people. I'm talking about just people with legs that are shaped like that, right? If you are shaped like Derrick Henry, for instance,
There you go.
you're not riding this ride. And Derrick Henry, for those of you who don't know, he's a running back in the NFL who's a big dude,
Huge.
big old thighs, big old
Huge
calves,
guy. Oh, yeah.
will run right through you, run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
You can't. And the other thing is, the proportions are different, right? If you have a longer from kneecap to ankle is longer than most people, you're going to have trouble riding this ride. So, and I look, I get it. Safety wise, it needs to have a way to pin you in there. There are times when it's just not comfortable, and it's always the same leg for me. And, obviously that means that I must have like one leg is shaped differently than the other. I don't know. My left leg never has an issue. My right leg, it always feels like it is pinching on my calf. And I don't know if that's because I can't slide my knee differently because of maybe my thighs don't fit into that little, where the bike is. This is not a larger individual, like big and tall shop kind of thing versus, just if you're in shape, you're fine. It is not. It is so, who knows? I've seen people way bigger than me ride that ride no problem. I've seen people smaller than me not be able to get on. Now, I can lock it, but it's really strange how that system works. And so for that reason, I can't put it any higher than 4. That and the fact that it's 30 seconds long. Yeah. But it's amazing while you're on it.
Is it the actual time?
Are
you exaggerating? Or is that
No, it's close to that.
Okay.
It's a little bit longer, slightly longer than Barnstormer.
Okay.
Start to finish.
This was kind of funny that you mentioned the football player riding the ride.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you saw this clip or not. I maybe saw this morning, but the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, and their quarterback's name is Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Jalen Hurts went to Disney this past week. They did the parade, which is fine. We're not necessarily Eagles fans, but we're happy the Eagles won. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. We won't make people angry again this episode. And there is video footage of, this is my point, of Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, riding TRON Lightcycle Run. And the video goes by and you can see him. I think he's in the second car or something, but I'm sure that'll pop up in your stream this week too.
I'm sure.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that. I want to bring that up quick before we go off to the halftime show here.
Absolutely. So we are going to head off to the halftime show, which is brought to you by our patrons over at patreon.com/DizListPod. We've seen an influx of free members, and we love that too. Over there, we post everything that we post on our Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube gets posted there as well as some updates here and there. If you are a person who's joined for free, make sure you reach out via message with your Instagram handle so we can add you to our close friends list. And then the other thing I would like to say is if you're looking to spend just a little bit, about the cost of a cup of coffee a month, is you can get early access to new episodes as well as bonus episodes every single week. But we're going to head off to the halftime show brought to you by our patrons. Welcome back to the second half of our list. It's actually a little bit more than this. Second 60% of our list. I'm interested to see where you go. I know we've matched up with one. I believe we're going to match up with at least a couple others, or at least another one. But go ahead.
So 3 for me is one you mentioned already, and that's Rise of the Resistance. I'm going to get right to it because we've already talked about this one.
Yep.
Now, I realize that I am very fortunate in that I have never, knock on wood, never had an issue with riding Rise of the Resistance. Every time that we've gone, it has run properly. Now that I say this, next time I go, I'm sure it's not. But I have been very lucky, very fortunate to be able to experience that. But I completely understand somebody who has experienced those issues miss either the first or second pre-show in the queue that would leave a slightly sour taste in your mouth. Mm-hmm. Or even mid-ride, the Kylo Ren animatronic is not working properly, or I completely understand. It's a great ride. It's fun. There's a little bit of thrill. The animatronics are pretty good. I still think the Kylo Ren one's a little clunky. I don't love it. I love the immersion, though, and being able to see those AT-AT walkers. Those are the kind of those... I don't know how to describe it to somebody that hasn't seen Star Wars. It's kind of like a machine that looks like almost like a robot gigantic dinosaur sort of. I don't know how else to describe it, but that part is really cool too. Even if you don't really know Star Wars and you're going through the ride, it's really exciting.
It's such a huge scale,
and they build it so well that it's fun whether you are a Star Wars person or not.
I agree,
and I am, and Nick is, and I know a lot of our listeners are. We love Star Wars, and that ride hits just right for me. And it kind of focuses on the newer Star Wars movies.
Yes.
Not really the newer shows, but I don't necessarily... I like them. I don't love them as much as the original, but I will give Disney credit for creating a ride based on that universe that's really fun for everybody. Mm-hmm. I've never really heard anyone really criticizing the fact that, well, it should have been this or it should have been that. That ride specifically. I fully admit that I've criticized the rest of everything else in that park and said it could be this, it could be that. And I think Disney's sort of punting on a couple things here. Like, that is one thing I read online this week. This is a rumor, but one of the rumors is they were going to bring Luke Skywalker. Did you read that too? To Galaxy's Edge. That was again not confirmed.
I was under the impression that was for that limited. I forget what they call it, but basically right around Star Wars Day.
And if
right
you're
around
not,
May the 4th is Star Wars.
If you're not familiar, when this land was first created, it was supposed to be in a very specific time and place. And I'm not going to nerd out and say when specifically. But what Disney did is they locked into one specific set of characters, and they could not expand on that. And I think since then they've decided to kind of say, okay, that's why I use the term punt.
Look, we now have cars in the frontier, so they can do whatever the heck they want.
Sure, and a lot of people are upset by that. If that's your opinion, I respect it. But I think my best advice to somebody that gets upset by the changes at Disney is this: you just have to go with it. You have to go with the flow and realize I don't have a vote here. It's not like I'm voting for, a public office. It doesn't work that way. Even if I'm a shareholder, I'm still like, hey, I'm a shareholder. It's not like I'm voting for whether, even if I do own a ton of stocks, I'm not voting for whether or not Galaxy's Edge is going to be themed to the original trilogy. That's not something I get to do.
Yeah.
So back to my point, my advice for everyone is just roll with it. If you don't like it, oh well. Look on the positive side and focus on something that you do like. That's part of the parks. And everything you do like is gone. Go down the street to Universal.
Yeah, I mean,
there's my advice.
I don't disagree with you.
So yeah, I know that was a lot, but there's a lot to say about that land and that ride specifically. So, number 3, Rise of the Resistance.
My number 3 is one that I think doesn't get the love it deserves, and that is evident by the oftentimes walk-on wait in the mornings when it should be longer, and that is Everest.
Mm-hmm.
Expedition Everest is one of the best roller coasters you will ever go on.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very well done. The queue is amazingly well themed.
Yes, one of the best.
It really does help transport you to the Himalayas. The ride itself is extremely thrilling, yet approachable at the same time, so that a family can go on that, and the adults in the party can be extremely satisfied and feel like, wow, that was amazing. And the children in that same party can also feel like they accomplished something huge. I know both of us have fond memories of our children having that very moment.
Oh,
right?
yeah. We wrote it together.
And so the idea that kids can go on and feel like they conquered something, adults can go on and feel like they had their bones shook up a little bit, not Space Mountain, but like rattled just enough. The technology behind how they'd switch the tracks is amazing. Say what you will about Disco Yeti. That might be the only thing holding it from going higher on my list. But for me, Everest is just an amazing ride. I know we have listeners and patrons who would say that this is the best ride or best roller coaster at Disney.
I will jump in quick because that is my number 2.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And I echo and mirror everything that you say. A few times on the podcast, I've mentioned that I feel like the part where you go by the animatronic Yeti, which hasn't worked in a while, and you have that strobe light on the inside to kind of mimic, sort of movement, I guess. I just wish that they would put on just a spotlight in there and put fans to have the fur on the Yeti move. And at the very least, if they could somehow, even if the arm doesn't work, could they figure out just to get the mouth? Because I'm okay with the arm being out, just have the mouth open and a roar and like wind in there. Or
did
like,
the mouth move?
I don't know. I don't know because I've never seen it working. So that's my only wish.
I don't know that you're moving so fast through there. I don't know that it needs to move.
That's my point.
Yeah, I know. I know it's your point.
I just want a spotlight on it.
I get it.
I think it would be that much better.
I'm agreeing with you 100%.
When you ride the Matterhorn, the Yeti or whatever it is, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's
Abominable
a Yeti or
Snowman,
sure,
which is the same thing.
And it's cool. I mean, it's definitely cool. But there's an open space where daylight is coming in, so it doesn't really have to be lit as much. I don't know what it looks like at night because when I rode Matterhorn, it was during the day. And It was cool to see it. It was obviously it's not as big as what it's going to be in Everest, but seeing that was really fun. And it's kind of like on that specific ride, and you want to talk about being knocked around, the Matterhorn track needs to be redone because that was rough, very rough. But it's kind of like you're looking for that prize in the cereal box. You're kind of enjoying it, but it's still Cheerios, and then all of a sudden there's the prize at the bottom of the. I know Cheerios may be a bad example because it's never had prizes in them. I'm just trying to think of a more plain
Apple Jacks
cereal. Sure,
Fruit Loops.
And then there's the prize. You're excited, and then you continue, and actually there's a little at the very end. You get the little bit of that splash, but I guess if I had a wish list, my wish list would be. Just put a spotlight in there. Give me a spotlight. Give me a fan. I think it'd be that much cooler. So
I can't argue with any of that. I'm glad it made your list. I suspect.
I love it. 2. It's 2. I bet a lot of people go. I'd rather put this or that up there higher. But
yeah, for instance, like I have one that you had lower on your list at my number 2.
Yeah,
and that is Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
That's my number 2.
Yeah. And I get that,
and
too.
I'm not shocked that we're matching up as much as we are in our top 5.
No.
And I'm not shocked that the order is just a little bit different. Tiana's, for me, is everything I wanted Splash Mountain to be.
Mm-hmm.
You do get wet now.
Yeah.
You do get wet now. And Splash Mountain certainly was that old classic ride. And I'm not going to get into the political side of the debate. I'm going to talk about the fact that it was starting to get where it was probably costing them more to keep up than if they put the money they did into Tiana's and then expand that out for the life of that ride. My guess is the return on it's going to be the same, right? Because they were putting so much money into fixing like the animatronics on that last part.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, it's in a moist area, right? It's in
Yeah.
a very humid part of the country. And you throw in the fact that there's water going by it. That boat and the animatronics on it were the old style. And so they were probably not kept up very well.
Some of them were from that attraction America Sings, which
is even older.
Maybe I saw when I was little. I don't have a memory of that, but they are definitely older.
Right.
I'd like to jump in and make one little point here that you reminded me of when you started off is, so the previous IP that they chose was a roadblock for many ways. One, obviously, and you said not to get into the political side of it, but it doesn't always have the greatest message, and it's not as inclusive.
Right.
Now, once they switch it, what that does is it gives Disney the opportunity for merchandising.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot of merchandise.
No.
I mean, they didn't really feel, I'm guessing, I don't know this for a fact, but I don't think they were too comfortable with selling a lot of this merchandise that is reflecting a movie that is not, I'm saying it in a nice way, it's not inclusive. Of course not. It's racist.
It's racist.
I'm just say it like it is. But once you switch it to a beloved franchise that is proven and adding in new characters,
right.
I mean, they have like Apollo the raccoon, like that character wasn't in the movie, but now we know who that character is, and now it's in the gift shop, and Disney can sell more merch.
Yeah.
Look, again, let's tell it like it is. Disney wants to sell stuff, okay? And I want to buy stuff too. I want that merchandise. People do, and now they have that option as well. So they sunk all this money into it. Are people going to say, ooh, I want to go and ride this? It's different. Is it going to sell tickets? Yes. That ride will sell tickets. That ride will bring people into the park. Once they're there, then they're also going to buy money on great merchandise themed to a fantastic IP. And
yeah,
it's a win-win.
Don't even look, like I'm saying, it made financial sense for them to make the switch because they were putting a lot of money into fixing up the other stuff. And now you put new stuff in and created new characters that have become new, like in-park IP in a way.
Yes.
You go to Alani, you're going to buy an Olumel doll, or trinket of some sort, or maybe a Shelly May, or these are things you are going to do that aren't really big-time Disney things, but they are in the park, or they are in the location that they are at, right?
Like Figment.
Yes. Yeah, Tiana's Tiana's is great.
I got a message the other day from listener Eric, and
was he about the Figment thing?
Yeah, he sends me all these pictures of the different Figment merch, which truly I think is kind of cool. Figment drives Eric a little crazy.
Yeah,
his caption was, "Looks like they're pushing Figment a little bit, huh?" It was so funny. And it was some of it was pretty cool, but it was so much Figment stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, shout out to Eric. He's got a good sense of humor.
But Tiana's, I thought they did a good job. I like the queue. I get why you don't with the heat. I like
the first half. The second half indoors is great.
I think they did a great job with the whole thing, and you're definitely getting wet now. I mean, it's more water.
Yeah.
I thought they did a wonderful job. So that's my number 2. I'm not going to beat a dead horse here because I know that we're both going to have a lot to say for number 1 because I can pretty much guarantee at this point that this is matched up.
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell us our number 1.
Our number 1 ride is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
No, mine was Small World.
I think that's your daughter's number 1.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy rocks.
Yeah,
I love
it's
this
great.
ride.
I think my favorite part about this ride, if I were to say it's one thing, and it's the easiest thing to do, and it's such a no-brainer, is the music.
Oh.
Is having this soundtrack is so cool. And if you're familiar with the movie franchise Guardians of the Galaxy,
it makes sense.
It does, because he has these mixtapes from when he was a little boy on Earth, and now he's out in space, and he plays these songs from 70s and the 80s, and that's the soundtrack to the ride. And I have my favorites. I think we did an episode or a Patreon at one point where we ranked our favorite songs that are in Cosmic Rewind, but the track is smooth. The projections are great. They brought in the cast members. The interior part 1 of the queue is amazing. The pre-shows are amazing. I can't think the only possible negative thing I can think of. No, there's two. I do have two of them, but they're very small.
Okay.
One is I don't love all of the songs. Okay,
Yeah,
there's one or two I don't love, and I'm not going to be long-winded on that because that doesn't matter as much. And the other one is depending on where you sit, you can get a little motion sickness, which I haven't really experienced, but some people have. So I haven't really had that problem because we kind of learned in advance to sit, in a certain place on the ride. So two of the smallest little criticisms, but if I'm giving this a grade, like, we're teachers, what grade does this ride get? 99. It's near perfect for me.
I would say the one drawback I have with Guardians that I would take it down a notch is the fact that it's still on a virtual queue.
Yeah.
Look, if I go there and it happens to be a dead day, let me ride that thing 5 times.
That's a really good point. I never thought of that.
Like there are other rides that I'm shocked don't have virtual queues, and then here this one does. I don't know why it doesn't have a standby line. I mean, TRON has a standby now. Yeah. Like, what are we doing? And some of it has to do with the fact that it's the only real big ticket item in Epcot, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Remy's, but like for thrill rides, it's the only big ticket item there.
I was going to mention Remy's. Remy's, I think, is the one that got bumped from both of our lists.
Yeah, TRON did that for me.
Me too. That would have been 5, and TRON.
I agree.
TRON, and again, love the ride. I know you do too, and it was in our top 5 previously.
Yeah, I mean, look,
and Flight of Passage isn't either, and that's very close too.
Yeah, Flight of Passage for me suffers from the glasses. I've been abused, and so it's tough to see. I want to throw in, though, just before we completely abandon Guardians of the Galaxy, that queue is probably my favorite queue. If we were doing top 5 queues, that might be my favorite queue as well.
Maybe we need to do that.
We've done it in the past. We should do that one. What I can tell you is this, without spoiling stuff, because I know there's people who listen who have not been there. Or maybe have been there and didn't get a virtual queue because it's stupid that it's still on virtual queue. Anyway, I will say this, that there are entire rooms that are better than entire queues other places. The amount of detail in some of the singular rooms, the minute you walk into that building and the spiral, it's not really spiral, but you know what I mean, where you walk in the circle.
Yeah.
This, I'm not spoiling anything.
No.
On the ceiling, there's like the galaxy being projected, and they're talking, and they're kind of giving the history a little bit and talking about Terrans and whatever. Like, immediately you feel like you're entering a totally different world.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very well thought out queue. You don't feel like you're waiting forever because there's stuff to look at, even if you are waiting forever. When you get into the snakes going back and forth, there's stuff to look at. There's lots of stuff to look at.
They have some projections and models of what it looks like on their planet.
It reminds me of what Test Track could have been. You know what I mean? How they have like the car, the like the model cars and stuff, right? And they talk about what it reminds me of, like being educated, but you're being educated about stuff that doesn't exist, right? Yeah. About a world that doesn't exist, about vehicles that don't exist. From species of people, I don't know what you would call it, aliens that don't exist. Mm-hmm. It's a fantastic ride, front to back, from the minute you enter the queue. Mm-hmm. Because I've never had a situation where I've been waiting outside.
No, neither have I.
Yeah, so that's the other thing, is like in a world where you wait in the heat, they did a good job about keeping that queue. I mean, think about how long Flight of Passage queue inside is. I've still waited outside there. I've never waited outside for Cosmic Rewind. And some of that is to do with the fact that it's virtual queue, but yeah. So.
I'm scanning the park in my head. Okay, we have Remy's Ratatouille Adventures partially outside. Yeah. You have Frozen is partially outside.
Yeah, I've been in the heat there.
Depending on the day, 3 Caballeros, but generally that's all inside.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I was there, it was, but that was ridiculous.
When Test Track was open, a small portion could end up being outside, but the vast majority is inside.
Yeah.
I don't think the ride is ever, for Mission Space, I don't think the wait has been outside. We'll skip Guardians. We'll keep going around counterclockwise here. And then if you look at Spaceship Earth, most of it is outside, but you're in the shade. So that's not
for
as
the
big
most
of a
part.
deal.
I mean, it would have to be a very long wait for it to wrap out from underneath there.
Seas with Nemo and Friends inside.
Yep.
Moving around to the Land Pavilion, both of those queues are also inside. Then Journey into Imagination is kind of where we're ending here, and that one is also inside. So it's
if you're outside for Journey into Imagination, please take a picture and let us know, because I want to see that.
So I think what we're proving here is that if it's really hot, you're going to be inside a good chunk of the time, or if you're in really rough rains, which happens in Orlando a lot too, might be a good park to go to that day. Only drawback there is there's big commutes in between. So you are outside, in the blazing heat walking from A to B.
Yes, I agree. But you're not wrong, though. So you have any honorable mentions? Oh, we already mentioned Remy.
Yeah, Remy is definitely one, and I love me some Haunted Mansion. It's a great classic ride. I think it needs a shout out. I think Space Mountain, if it were be refurbed, it could possibly make it into like a top 10. And
there's just no theming whatsoever.
No, and anyone who's been to both parks on both coasts, Disneyland's it's not even a contest of how superior it is with the new track and how much smoother it is. Mm-hmm. The
only thing I would say is that if you're listening to this thinking, why in the heck is this not on there or this not, it might be that you're listening to this in 2026.
Yeah. Why is Test Track? The new Test Track is not on there.
Test Track, we can't put that on our list. Big Thunder, I can't put that on my list.
I know it would be.
Yeah. Big Thunder is my favorite coaster in second favorite now. Favorite coaster in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
But I can't put it anywhere. It's not open. So this is proof that you need to do this every year, because things change so frequently at Disney. It's why we screw stuff up all the time.
I want to do shout out to Tower of Terror too. I love that one.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll give that. I'll say that's up there too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rock and Roller Coaster, Sans Aerosmith is a good ride.
It's just a little cheesy. I mean, let's say Aerosmith's not the band. Throw in anything. Throw in a band like Metallica's the band, right? And it looks exactly the same.
It's still cheesy.
It's still cheesy. Those signs are cheesy.
Right, but if you make it Muppets
in any band.
Here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing.
Muppets.
It can be cheesy if it's Muppets.
Correct.
It can't be cheesy for Aerosmith or Metallica or Queen.
Yes.
Like you can't. But if it's the Muppets, now the cheesiness makes sense.
Now it's great music and it infuses humor.
Right.
Like the only other thing I could think that could do that is maybe Weird Al. Weird Al takes over the ride. Yeah. That would also be kind of funny. It's the only other thing that would work with it being cheesy.
I'm going to see Weird Al this summer.
Nice.
Because my son is a huge Weird Al fan. Which is so...
I am. UHF is one of my favorite movies from the 80s.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
So, guys, thank you so much for following along with us. And we can't say how much we appreciate this. If you're not already following us on YouTube, make sure to do that. Also over on Instagram, make sure you're following us there at DizListPod, both places, and then patreon.com/DizListPod. Also check out magicmerch.art for some new designs. We forgot to mention that, but we put up some
two new designs.
We're slowly building that up, trying to fix that. Not fix it, but put some newer
put some
stuff
love in there.
Yeah. We've kind of fallen off a little bit, but it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow is just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.